So the flight takes through the first field. Brown hare goes under the stock fence. Harris hawk goes over. We get down into the second field. She's gaining on it. She's nearly setting her feet. She's getting there. Brown hare goes under the fence. She goes over the top. And as we get into the third field, I go, this could go to the river, and I might end up having to get down there.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome back for another episode of the Falconry Toll podcast, and the next episode in our UK Falconry series. This should be our 5th episode of the series now, and I hope you all are enjoying it so far. But I have to mention the two guys that are responsible for making this series happen, being Neil Davies from Pursuit Falconry and Conservation Magazine. Neil's put together a really good publication with Pursuit Magazine, and I highly recommend you go to pursuitfalconry.co.uk and check it out if you haven't already. There's always lots of great new content in each issue, and Neil's doing a good job in helping to promote the art of falconry around the world. So I highly recommend that you go and subscribe if you haven't already. And of course, the other guy that I have to mention is Simon Tyers, who's also the author of The Specialist Falcon. This book is a great recounting of Simon's personal approach to lowland game hawking, and even though that a lot of it is centered or written from the perspective of flying longwings in Britain, there's a lot of great relevant information in general, especially with flying longwings and using a lot of modern technology such as drones and a lot of other things that are pertinent towards hawking in today's world. So if you haven't checked it out yet or haven't gotten your copy, head to thespecialistfalcon.com and order yours. I highly recommend it, and you can also get signed copies as well. So as I said before, head to thespecialistfalcon.com and get your copy if you haven't. And this episode gives us a little different perspective from the UK than what we've heard so far, being from Scotsman Kevin Robertson. Kevin's also a big supporter of the podcast, which is much appreciated, but it was good to get a chance to sit down with him over the weekend, get to know him some, and hear how falconry is in Scotland. So without further ado, I give you all Kevin Robertson. Here we go. Kevin, man, it's been good getting to know you some, and you guys are definitely a different breed here, but it's been cool. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, different breeds, definitely right. I think different things are a bit different. When you come to the UK, it's a different style, different people, and the accents definitely don't help.
Yeah, it's been fun, though. I really appreciate you guys' hospitality, and everything's been pretty fun so far. Been seeing a lot of neat stuff. And what's the coolest thing that you think you've seen so far?
The thing is, we come into a thing like this, the row crows flying, watching the falcons on the row crows and doing the tailwhip racing is, something that I've seen already. But for me, I think silky dogs, it's something that I don't really run, and it's not a thing that's really done much in the UK. Is just watching, running dogs. There's obviously a few boys over in the States that like to run dogs and fly ger falcons over them on jackrabbits and things. But yeah, seeing them. But it is nice to watch the falcons. Some nice flying. And it's obviously something that I do myself, so I do it quite a lot, flying 4 falcons to the row crows, and it definitely takes time and patience, and I really do enjoy it. So it's nice to see as I would say, the professionals doing it. I do it, but I'm definitely not 100% good as some of these boys that are doing it.
Yeah, I don't think very many people, if anyone right now that I'm aware of in the US, flies any birds with the row crows or anything like that. So I guess since you use one, for the people listening, kind of describe. I mean, it's one of those things you kind of need to see to really.
Yeah, you do. I mean, the way I kind of describe it to people that have never seen it, I always say think RC plane, so remote controlled plane, obviously smaller, but looks like a bird. So you do have different versions. So you do have the crow, which is a roe crow. You have a roe duck, roe pheasant. So they're all painted to look like the prey that you want your bird to catch. And the main aim is obviously to teach a falcon, one, to gain height, and two, to chase after that prey. And at the end of the day, it's been rewarded. It obviously thinks it's, it is real prey at the end of the day. So it's going up, it's doing its thing. I fly a little Tearsal peregrine, one of the birds that I fly on it. Flies at £1 3.5 ounces, and he's up over 1,000 foot every time to that, and stoops down 140, 150 miles per hour, and takes it. So it is nice. It's nice to watch, but it's a great fitness aid as well. Your boys will use drones and things to get your birds up there and teach them to gain height and gain fitness. Nick Fox has definitely done something there with these roe preys, and made it a great training aid for birds, and something that's practical but also very fun.
I know we were talking about it earlier, but I think the thing that people are going to be interested to hear about the most, kind of like I was interested to hear about, is sometimes it can be difficult to transition birds from the drone to live prey, whatever the case is, pigeons or ducks or whatever. Getting them, like, once they get you kind of used to the drone, sometimes they can become a little too wed to it, and sometimes there's issues trying to transition them to look down and, do the whole stoop and all that kind of stuff. I mean, what kind of issues, if any, have you had transitioning from something like the roe crow as opposed to, like, the drone? I mean, have you really had much in the ways of issues transitioning to live game?
None at all, because to the end of the day, what they are chasing. So I'm taking these birds, flying them on a roe crow, and then transitioning to actual crows. So they already think they are taking crows. It obviously just flies a little bit different. And whether you're doing off the fist pursuit or waiting on above and coming down, which is not... I do fly certain birds that way. I fly the bigger 7/8 Jer off the fist at crows in pursuit style, but I think it's so much easier because they already do think it is a prey, and they are used to then taking it, so that transition is made so much easier. Whereas, as you said, you're going up to a drone, if they become wed to that lure and they are always looking up all the time, once you take that drone away and the bird goes up, it's like, what am I actually meant to do? There's no lure here for me. So it is different. And I think also it's different as well. We don't use baggy pigeons or anything here. It's not, you're not allowed to do it. Whereas you can, in the States, you can always reward that bird with something. So even if you're out and you've not put any head of game up for your bird, if you've got one in the bag, then it's easier. Whereas here, we just can't do that. But I definitely think that going from chasing a robotic prey to then actually taking the prey is an easy transition. Also, I would have said it's very similar to if you're training a young hawk, Harris, red-tailed goshawk, and you're wanting it to take rabbit or hare, and you're pulling a dummy bunny. It's a similar transition. It knows if it's running after that prey and it's catching it, it gets rewarded. So when it sees one actually going, I'm having that. So it does make it a very easy, for me, a very easy transition. I don't know about other people, but I would have thought they are very much in similar circumstances myself.
Well, how many birds have you trained with them so far?
Four. So I'm flying four falcons to it. Two Tearsal peregrines, a tribrid, a female tribrid, so she's a Jer perisaker, and a 7/8 Jersaker, all going to it very well. Tribrid was the first bird I tried on it. She was my first falcon I tried, and she took it very well. The transition, even going from lure to roe prey, was quite easy. and she gives it her all. And I've never known a bird to hit it harder than her. 7/8 Ger. She's more a pursuit style. As I said, for a crow, she's off the fish. So with this, she's off the fish. She doesn't gain great height. But for me, the roe crow for her is more about fitness than anything. Just get those wings pumping, get her chasing it. And the fitness soon comes into her. 2 tiercels, it's a bit of fun. When I first started flying the first tiercel on the roe crow, he was only flying at 1 pound 3.5 ounces, and people had said to me, "Oh, that might be too small a bird for the roe prey." But no, definitely he's, as I said, he's up there over 1,000 foot every time, and really doing the business. The second one switched on in the end. I would have said that's the hardest bird I ever had to take the roe crow. The reason being, he came to me at 9 months old. He was fully untouched, 6 months in a hack pen, and with that he was fit. He knew how to fly, but he wanted to go round in circles, and he wanted to only go 25 foot high with spending these 6 months in a hack pen. So my first job with him was to get him manned down, get him trained, get him flying, and then transition to that roe crow, which was a bit harder for him because he would eat off the roe crow fine. You put on the ground, eat it, give it a little flight, eat it. But if you're really wanting him to go for it, he would go round and do his own thing and fly round in circles like he was in a hack pen while you're trying to bring this roe crow in front of him and switch him onto it like the boys were doing today. The falcon goes away. You then need to try and get the roe crow in front of them to switch them back on to want to take it. And that proved a bit harder with him, the hardest bird, but that's all down to the breeding and spending too much time in the hack pen, whereas I do like to get my falcons at 9-10 weeks old, parent reared, and they just switch on very, very quickly.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, like I said, it's kind of a foreign thing to me. I mean, I've drone birds before, and like I said, it seems like it's a different process, but something that I've noticed with falcons and something that I've also been told from other experienced guys that have way more long wing experience than me, but they're smart, so they kind of have a tendency to know, like, I know you guys don't get to serve or deal with any kind of live game or reward type system here, but if you serve a pigeon versus like offer up a live, like, they know the difference and they can kind of get to learn the difference pretty quick if you're not careful. So I just didn't know if you'd run into any issues with the fact that it knows that it's between the sounds and the way that the wings don't move and stuff, whatever. I mean, if there's really any challenge as far as getting the bird to not be wed to a mechanical or a motorized, type of thing like that versus something that's obviously live prey.
No, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, the falcons that I'm flying seem to be quite versatile in the way that they will do both. But I think when you're going out and doing one or the other, by what you're doing and what's going on round about, they know exactly what's happening. So if you're going out and you're flying on that roe crow, they know themselves, I'm going to the roe crow today. And as soon as they hear that engine, it just turns everything on. And you could have a falcon on a block with a hood on, and you fire up that engine in the roe crow, and they know what's happening right away. Hood off, and that's it. They know what their job is. Mm-hmm. But if you're taking them out, and I see you are slipping a falcon out the hood on pursuit, and you're walking through a field for a good bit of time before you can find a slip, and they're walking for that length on your fist with the hood on, they then know I'm going for crows rather than, and it just seems to work. And I mean, when they first brought the first roe prey out, it had actually moving wings. Mm-hmm. So the Rabara, it had moving wings to simulate those wings moving. They never, when they made the version 2 and brought in these new ones, they decided to make it a solid wing rather than movable parts. And though the wings aren't moving, the birds just seem to switch on just the same for either one.
That's weird. I mean, that's cool. I mean, that's actually really good. It makes it, in a lot of ways, then a lot more practical than drone, because some of these birds, they can get so drone wed and they just won't have an interest sometimes in doing live, a real game, because they get so wed to the fact, well, no, I don't want to go. I mean, I want to wait for the thing up in the sky so I can get my instant reward. So I was just curious because, like I said, it's very intriguing. It's really neat to watch. I mean, I wish it kind of had a little bit more battery time than like the 10 minutes or whatever. But I mean, in reality, most of your flights are going to be 5-6 minutes tops in a lot of long wing situations anyway, in the right circumstances. But yeah,
that's it. I mean, the battery life isn't absolutely amazing on them. It does say that the battery life can be 10 minutes, but that's if you're not on the throttle all the time. If you've got a really fit falcon and you're getting them fit, that's cut down to at least 4 minutes, 3.5, 4 minutes at a push. So you are wanting to try and get things done a bit quicker. So if you've got that throttle on full all the time, keeping that row crow away from them, you're dramatically cut down in your time that you're actually going to get that bird flying. So it does, but it works. It's what they do. But my main aim with the row crow is right at the start of flying them, and like you're getting them fit. It's used as a fitness aid and a training aid, and then it completely comes away for those falcons, and then those falcons then go on to crows for the rest of the season. Unless I'm doing a demonstration for somebody and they want to see what it's like flying a bird, and I'll take one of them, and though it's been on, hunting and taking crows for a month or 2 months, it can still go and do a day where this person wants to see how it's going. And I help a lot of boys out as well that have little issues with their row crows and they can't really get them figured out, because they're not the simplest thing to fly. So you're then taking a bird off of that to show this is how it's done, let's sort yours out. And so we've done it that way. But yeah, definitely it's a great thing. And it might be in the future they end up coming over to the US and you boys start using them, and we'll see how that goes. I'm pretty sure Nick Fox would love them to start being sold over there. Definitely push a bit of business his way.
Well, I think out west especially, there could potentially be definitely a market for them. But once again, now that a lot of the big long wing guys, especially out west, have kind of gotten used to the intermittent droning and things like that, it would more or less be more of a matter, I think, of just selling a lot of guys on the practicality of that versus the drone, which I do see, like I said, I do legitimately see potential for a lot more uses for it than just a straight drone. But once again, it's going to be to each their own. Everybody's going to decide what they want to do or not do. So.
Yeah, that is it. I mean, what you're seeing here today is, they're simulating a hunt race, and that's what they do. They do hunt racing with it, and it's you have to take that bird up to a certain height, then bring it down below that height, evade that bird for 30 seconds, and land it in your 120 metre square. Whereas I'm taking that bird higher. If you're training a young bird, you're taking that bird higher and higher every time. So each time you're training that new bird and you look at your GPS and you've went higher than yesterday, you reward it with the stoop. So the bird then learns it's going down, I'm coming down, and the next day you go higher. And just you like you would do a drone.
Yeah.
Go higher and higher all the time till you're getting that bird to do what you want it to do. That you can take that row crow away, you slip your falcon, and the first thing it wants to do is ring up and gain that height.
Sure.
So then you're wanting to then go in and flush the game to put it up, so it goes, the game's got up, I'm coming down, and it's just it's the same way it's anything's getting done. And I mean, drones are fantastic. They're one thing I've never flew a falcon to. I just went straight to row crows, and I would like to try it. It's something a bit different. It definitely would get a falcon fit and learn to ring up. But I do enjoy this. It's fun. you're in control the whole entire time, whereas you put a drone up, you stand back, you watch the falcon ring up to it, whereas with this, you need to be quite a good pilot, especially if you've got a very good falcon, to try, you dive it down and then you want to try and keep it away from the falcon for a while, simulate a hunt, and you soon learn to know what it's like to be the prey, because you've got this falcon chasing you, and it's completely different if you just start learning out and you're learning how to fly the row crow. You're spending weeks just getting used to how it works, how it goes, different wind directions and what you can do with it. And the first time you ever put a falcon on that, it's a completely different story. And you're like, oh, this is maybe a wee bit harder than what I thought. It's a completely different ball game when you've got a falcon chasing it. But it works for me and I absolutely love it.
No, that's, like I said, that's really cool. I'd like to see more actual flights on it, and I'm not really sure how much. I mean, maybe tomorrow I can see a few more, but yeah, I mean, I don't have any doubt that the first few times that I would fly one, I would just crash and burn it all to hell, you know. But I mean, overall, like I said, I can definitely see where the potential would be, as long as the bird doesn't get fixated on it and go off of the auditory cues of the motor, starting up and kind of like what happens with the drone and stuff. I mean, but like I said, it's pretty cool. I mean, I can definitely see it would have practical uses in a lot of ways, but yeah, no. So I mean, kind of moving on a little bit then, so as far as just your history and stuff. What you mentioned that your dad is it your dad that was a falconer also?
Yeah, Dad started the same time as me into falconry, and the way that we get into it it'll be 19 years ago now. There was a local man that we knew of, and he built a bird of prey centre. He wanted to pass on his passion to other people, show them that all about birds of prey and all about conservation and education. He was building the bird of prey centre at the time. His electrician let him down. With that, my dad was an electrician by trade, so he went up through a mutual friend, wired the centre up, and that's where it started. Now, they kind of do say, I live by, falconers are born, not made in a way, and you just need something to trigger it within you. And I was never always been interested in animals. I've worked with animals my whole entire life. But when he went up there and wired up that place for him, we kind of went up every weekend, helped out, started to learn, got the bug for falconry, and that was it. Every spare weekend, holiday, up, learning, being mentored by Brian, the gentleman that owned it, learning how to make equipment, how to do everything that we had to do. And after, I would have said about a year, that was I was told by Brian, right, you're ready to get your first bird. So then you go through the process of finding a bird, and that was it. It's just been from there, it's snowballed. Unfortunately, Brian in 2006 was unfortunately passed away with esophageal cancer. And in 2007, my dad decided he was cashing in his pension, buying the place off his wife, and that was it. So he's moved. This is the third place he's built, but the biggest and the best he's done. And though I've flown birds for this amount of time, I started working with him in 2019. Started doing the flying demonstrations for him, flying birds for him, and it's just grown arms and legs, and every year it just gets bigger and better. And kind of that, that's where it started. It was all through just a chance of him going in and doing this, and then it just snowballed. And now I'm lucky enough that I do get to fly birds for a living. It's my job. I basically get paid to do my hobby, what I've been doing for near on 19 years, and I wouldn't change it. It's the best thing I've ever done. And it was always the case when Dad built the new centre that we're in just now. He built that in 2013, and at that point I kind of took a share in the business, and I didn't one of those ones I didn't know how it was going to do in a new location. So I kind of went, I'll come and work for you at some point, but I don't want to be a financial burden on you because we don't know how it's going to do. So I've worked in agriculture my whole entire life, so I continued doing that until 2019. I had a bit of a problem with some staff members. Employed one, but one didn't like that happening, so then he decided I'm going to have to look for somebody else, and I'm like, I'm right here. Let's see what we can do, and it's worked. It's great. I think having somebody fresh coming in can kind of see things in a different light and can go, well, let's try this, let's do that, and it seems to work. And I mean, sometimes people tell me it's not the best thing working with your family because if something goes wrong, but me and Dad, we get on fine. Me and my dad have always done stuff together our whole entire lives, so it was kind of an easy one to kind of go and do. And yeah, I love it. It's just you get paid to do something that I get people coming in on a daily basis saying, your job's absolutely fantastic, I'd love to do it. And I'm like, yeah, it's great, it's my hobby and I get paid to do it, it's even better.
Yeah, no, I can see where that would be very appealing, and most of the people that do the exhibition type stuff really enjoy it. But yeah, I mean, there's obvious pitfalls to working with and for your family for sure, because yeah, there's all kinds of room for falling out and stuff if things don't work out. And then not only that, you're out of a job plus kind of a a little bit of a tension relationship in your family. And I can totally see that, but I'm glad that it's worked out for you. And I mean, how many birds do you guys have right now?
Yeah, we're probably just sitting about 41 birds just now. And the thing is with it, I like both worlds. So you've got your display work that you're doing, which we do 3 displays a day, and you work so hard through that tourist season because that's where you're making all your money. So that when we usually shut down over the winter, so it means we can relax, and that's when we do our hunting. So we'll take people out hunting, we'll hunt our own birds. So you're getting the best of both worlds there, where it's a thing with falconry. It's very time consuming, and people that get into it don't realise how much time you actually need to put into it. And though I've done it for so long, I've never had as much time to put into my birds as I have now, because I get to fly them every single day. In the past, it's not been ideal. You might only get out 3 days a week, and ideally I do like to get out at least 4 or 5 days a week with my hawks when I'm flying them and hunting them. But in the summer months, when it's lighter till later at night, what I did is I had a summer falcon, and that bird was probably the bird that I got to put the most time into until I started working for Dad. And now it's just, you get yourself through the tourist season flying on average 25 birds a day for people on demonstrations. And then when it gets to September, October time, that's when you start to slow things down on the demonstration side. You start doing experience days, and you come in and I can come in some days and go, I'm just going to go out and I'll go and hunt Harris's, or I'll go out and I'll go and hunt the Goshawk, and then I get to go and spend hours in the field by myself doing what I really enjoy doing. And it's a very good thing as in mentally in your head, just to be out there. I mean, I've always been a guy that's grown up in the countryside. It's something I've always done. I couldn't be one of these guys that had a 9-to-5 behind a desk and sat in an office all day. I've got to be out there and enjoying it. And even my kids as well, it's one thing that we do. We're a very outdoors family, so everything's revolved around going outside. And my 2 boys are very well into falconry now, and they do. My oldest has his own birds, and my younger son's coming into it now, and he's only 6 and likes to come down and help out and fly birds. So it's a very family thing for me as well, so where you can all go out and do things, and the boys come out hunting with me, and they absolutely love it.
No, that's great. I mean, it's anytime I hear of falconers who actually have kids that kind of give a crap about their falconry, I'm always at least a little bit jealous because my son could care less. I mean, it's kind of the more of the norm, I think. If you grow up with it to whatever degree, they're just not as enthralled or impressed by it because they're just desensitized to it. So, I mean, it's cool that you've got, kids that are interested in it and really want to kind of be involved in it. And I mean, who knows, maybe you can keep the business, a family business, and, you've already got your trainee in waiting and your kids and stuff. So
yeah, that's it. It's one thing, and it's one thing. I mean, it's my passion. It's my thing, and it's something I would never push on them personally. It's if they want to do it and they want to help out, then it's there for them. And yeah, they do. They like it. You've met my oldest son Aidan here this weekend, and he's cost me an arm and a leg this weekend with the stuff that he's wanted to buy, new lures and hoods and things for birds. But I'm not going to stop that in any way. If it's what he wants to do and what he wants, then yeah, definitely I'll nurture that and with him. And if he wants to carry on and fly birds and that's what he wants to do, then definitely that's what he'll get. It's at the end of the day, these young kids are the future falconers. They're the future generation, so we've got to kind of nurture that and keep it going. It's it is the oldest sport in the world, and we want to keep it going. And it's all about educating kids and teaching them how great these birds are. A lot of kids, especially in the UK, I don't know what it's like in the States, is some of the kids couldn't even tell you what some of the birds are. Bird of prey wise.
Most adults can't do that.
Yeah, well, I suppose. But, it's a thing that when I was in school, I learned when growing up, you knew your individual British bird species. It was something that was taught to me anyway. But now, I don't think it, a lot of kids know, they know certain birds, but definitely not. And especially the decline in some species of the UK as well, it's good to actually put that conservation message across by doing the displays like we do, to kind of teach what's happening to these individual species and how we can help them, just so that they are basically there for future generations as well.
Yeah, no, and there's always a lot of misconceptions around birds of prey in general, and especially in a lot of rural communities and things like that. There's always misconceptions to a huge degree when it comes to your interactions with birds of prey and even your household pets and things like that. And yeah, I mean, anytime you can educate people in an entertaining way, especially when they're coming in through a tourist type environment and just want to scope it out or whatever. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's cool. I mean, how long does the tourist season last for you all?
Our tourist season, I would have said, does kick off in March, and then it starts to grow arm and legs. And what you've got is you when it starts in March, you're aiming for the school holidays. And then once you get into April and May, that's it. It's full blown right to October, end of October. And then depending on how things are going and visitor numbers in the location, then we will either keep it going till November, shut down December, open back up in February. And then that gives us a month to get birds ready again to start all over. It's you're flying 25 birds a day on demonstration. It does take a lot out of them, so you're constantly swapping birds over, having birds in molt when they're ready to go. Have them go into the flying team, take more out, put them down to molt. So it's a constant vicious cycle basically of birds flying, birds not, and just constantly keeping them rotating to keep them going. And that's not even including the hunting birds. I've got a holiday next month. Once that's over and done with, we're on to those 4 falcons and getting them going again for the season.
How many people do you have? Yeah. How many people do you have employed to help keep track of all those birds?
I have 4 full-time falconers, and I have 1 full-time member of staff in the shop, and I have a team of between 8 and 10 volunteers that all have their dedicated days to come in and help us out. With them coming in, I mean, the volunteers are vital to what we do. You'll have vet students, you'll have people that are interested in falconry and want to learn a little bit more. So they come in, they help out, they learn, and it really helps us because it gives your falconers time to go and do the stuff that needed to do with the birds and all the bird work, because without them none of that would happen, because we'd be busy doing everything else. Because we're not one of the biggest centres in the UK, we're far from it. There are bigger centres out there, but we are flying at least near on 80% of our birds, so it does take a lot. So we are very, very grateful for everybody that does come in and give us a hand, and it just makes everything a bit easier on everybody, and they love coming in, and then they're getting trained as well the whole time they're in. They are learning about birds of prey and learning how to do things, and eventually they're moving on and they're flying their own flying birds, and they're doing demonstrations for us as well, which takes the workload off everybody else, and it seems to work, and people they come in and volunteer, and they just say they're in for, like a vet student, it's in for 2 weeks, they're doing a course, they need to learn about birds of prey. And after that, once the course finishes, I would have said at least 30 or 40% end up coming back and volunteering on their own time without having to do it as part of a course. And it works for us. And I think we're probably a lucky centre as well, because I don't think a lot of places do get the same amount of people actually wanting to come and help them out. Some places do kind of struggle to get volunteers. Falconry and birds of prey is a very niche market. Not everybody's into it. So it takes something just for them to want to come and do that. But yeah, as I said, it works for us, and the place wouldn't run as smoothly and as it does without all those.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was just curious because I figured you'd have to at least have a handful, people working with you or for you. But I mean, as far as actual like falconry goes, though, and you're hunting, what is kind of the typical? What's the typical hunt look like for you? I mean, I know it's going to probably vary a little bit depending on the species that you're choosing to fly on any given day. But what do you mainly hunt where you're at, and exactly where are you, or approximately where are you located in Scotland?
So we are located right on the banks of Loch Lomond, just 25 minutes from Glasgow on the west coast. And my hunts are kind of, depending on what I'm hunting, there are kind of two situations where I go. Now I'm hunting either Harris hawks, hawk-wise Harris hawks, or goshawk. And depending on what I'm wanting, it kind of varies in what I'm wanting to do. So if I want to go out for pheasants, that's a very close location for us. So it's within a 5-minute drive of the centre. We've got 1,000 acres up there, and it has pheasant on it. If I'm flying Harris hawks on those pheasants, it is a very wooded area. There's not a lot of open ground. It's not the best suited for the goshawk, though we do the goshawk on them. So what we do is we fly a cast of Harris hawks from the trees, following on, flushing pheasant for them, or half the time we don't even see the pheasant. You just hear the bells, pheasant's after, they're away after the pheasant, and 9 times out of 10, hopefully they don't go across the river that's there, which has happened a few times. And I said to you the other day, there's been scenarios and situations where even ducks have got up and the hawks have went, oh, we'll have them, and they're across the other side of the river, they're on something, or they're soaking wet and can't make it back, and you've no alternative but to strip down and go through that river.
Yeah, well, either that or just don't hunt by the river.
Yeah, unfortunately, they make that decision on their own. But yeah, another scenario is rabbits. We bolt rabbits here with ferrets, so that's what we'll do, and we'll take casts of Harris hawks down. It's probably one of the common ones that we do, and it's the more common one that customers want to go and do. So we'll take, and what we usually do is we go down to the borders for that, and we'll go down onto some hill ground with lots of rabbits, and we'll use the ferrets to bolt the rabbits, and the cast of Harris hawks will chase after the rabbits. depending on the day. Some of the slips can be really good. The thing is, what we find down there, if you've got a very calm day, there's not a lot of wind, you're more than likely to have the rabbits hole hop. So they'll come out one hole, run along straight in the other. So by the time your hawk's left the fist, it's more or less near enough at the next burrow. The ideal situation is what you want a gust of wind. So either you can have the Harris hawks waiting on above you, and you'll flush the rabbits with ferrets, and with that wind, what they want to do is they want to run, and they run directly down the hill, or you'll have them on the fist and the same thing happens. And that's what we like. I like nice long flights, good flights that you can watch. And some of the best flights that we have don't always end up with something in the bag, but they're the more memorable ones that you like. Definitely in a first season with a bird, you want to get as many kills as you can. Yeah, they're young, they're stupid, as we've talked about, and you just want to get those kills under that bird and make that bird the best bird it can be. As you do move on through the years, numbers don't necessarily play a part on it, and I'm more focused on getting nice flights and trying to set up nice flights. You do get a lot of boys that'll stand around a bunch of burrows, and they'll be as close as the burrow as they can, and I like to stand as far back as I can and get a nice long slip for those hawks down onto those rabbits, and it's one of the more enjoyable ones. Pheasants are good as well, and the way that we'll do the goshawk on them is, one guy will have the goshawk out on the fist, and I don't work any dogs. And in that woodland, what we do is we send a couple of beaters in. So send a couple, like you would do on a pheasant shoot, a couple of beaters into the woodland, try and rustle up some pheasants and try and get some nice slips for the goshawk. And it's nice to see the difference between the two styles of hunting. So you've got your Harris hawks following on, and your goshawk coming off the fist and taking in mid-air. And we've had a couple of incidents last season, first day of the season, male Harris hawk getting him ready to go out and get his hopefully bag a pheasant on the first day, and got him all ready, kitted him up, put him on the door of the van, and I was getting some things ready and heard the bell, looked, and he's off. And about 120 yards down the field, see this cock pheasant running, and I'm like, right, okay, you're eager. This could be a quick hunt. And from that distance away, I could hear the thud as if it was right next to me. So ran down, didn't know what I was expecting, and out comes little male Harris. Well, I say little male Harris, he flies at £1.10, and he comes out looking a bit disorientated, and I'm going, oh, what's happened here? And I look on the ground, and the deck feather with the telemetry's been ripped out. And what's actually happened is he came down that hard and smacked that cock pheasant that the momentum carried him in through the hedge and into a stock fence. And we hit the stock fence, he lost the pheasant, got him back up onto the glove, and there was blood coming out his nostrils. So panic station set in.
Sure,
and I'm like, oh, what's going on? And that was fine. I was like, right, head up to the van, we'll get you to the vet. But because the blood was coming out his nose, he started to sneeze, and because he was sneezing, there was blood bubbles coming out his eyes. So that really did set the fear in me. So straight in the box, driving him through the avian vet specialist, getting to the other side and going, oh, I don't know if this bird's going to be alive in this box or not. Fingers crossed he was. Got him into the vet, and they x-rayed him, nothing broken, kept him in overnight, and basically what it was a burst blood vessel in the nose. He'd hit the pheasant that hard, burst a blood vessel, and because your sinuses, the blood coming out his nose, it kind of made him sneeze, and with the sneezing it caused the air to come up through his eyes, and that was at the blood bubbles. So a couple of weeks off, and that was him back out and doing his thing and catching pheasants again. But I think it is one of those ones, you do count your blessings every time you are out with a hawk. We all know it can go wrong, especially in the UK when there's a lot of stock fences about, that when you do have your bird on the fist at the end of the day and it's fully 100% healthy, you count that as a good day, whether you've got something in the bag or not.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean that's one of the oldest sayings is any time you go home with a bird in a box, it's a good day. So yeah, and especially in that situation where you're expecting the worst, like an aneurysm or something like that, and yeah, I mean, for that to turn out well, yeah, you're lucky in that situation.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's just one of these things, I think. But yeah, it definitely turned out to be one of the better cases. But there's people out there, at the end of the day, if you're hunting a bird, your bird's on the edge all the time. It's pushing and pushing itself, and it's fully committed to the cause. And things can go awry, and things can go wrong, and just, it could be a bit of barbed wire sticking out of the ground that you don't know is there, and it flies along, or in my case, what happens quite a lot and what I need to watch for on some local permission is a wild peregrines coming in. And I've had it in cases where just even training falcons on the rocrow, in one case I looked up at one point and I went, why have I got 2 falcons chasing my rocrow? And I looked up and figured out it was a wild one, but the wild one wasn't behind chasing my falcon, the wild one was in front chasing the rocrow. So then went, I think I better need to do something about this. So started bringing the rocrow down before the wild falcon caught it. If it had caught it, I would have been away with it, ditched it down into the ground, and then obviously a little dog fighting came about it. But yeah, you do, especially when you've got peregrines about and common buzzards here in the UK. It is something you need to watch when you're flying your birds, and there are times where you've got to call that bird in just in case anything does go wrong.
Yeah, no, for sure. And yeah, I mean, there's weird situations like that. I mean, I've had birds before that have tussled with other wild birds and stuff. You just got to get in there. I mean, I've seen red tails tussle with great horns before, and that always ends well.
Yeah, who for though?
It's you always run into those kind of situations. But well, I mean, as far as you're a pretty regular listener of the podcast.
I am, yes.
Yeah, and so I mean, I just want to say thank you again for the support on that. But so that one of the questions we usually ask though is a story about one of your either favorite birds, favorite hunting story. I mean, you've already told a few pretty cool stories, but I mean, is there one in particular that sticks out for you, or a particular bird that will always be kind of like numero uno, so to speak, in your...
I mean, it is kind of hard to try and narrow it down to one. And
you knew this question was coming.
Yeah,
it's your fault.
I did. And it is hard to narrow it down to one. There are a few birds that are quite special to me, and I always say I'm not allowed to have a favourite as such, but you do. I would have thought I would have said my most memorable flight was from a female Harris I had. She flew at 2 pound 4.5 ounces, and she loved brown hair. And with that, she would, the way I flew her, she would see them from distance where I wouldn't, and you just knew the way she was flying, she's seen a hare. And she would fly 400, 500, 600 yards at a brown hare, knowing full well that I'm no Usain Bolt, and I cannot run there as quickly as what she thinks to help out. And with that, a lot of time, and especially in her first year, she'd get on a brown hare, she'd get kicked off, but it never discouraged her in any way. Every time she seen one, she was having it, whether she had no chance of actually keeping hold of it or not. And I would have said with her, she was definitely something special. She was the first female Harris I'd flown. I'd flown males before that, but wanted something a bit bigger. And I do like Harris Hawks. I just think they're very versatile. And the more you do fly them, the better they get. And they're just an all-round great bird. And I think they're kind of quite underrated in some places. And what we were doing is, she was following on through a woodland one day, farm track at the side of it, woodland on the left-hand side, and I'm out on the road just walking along. We're heading along this track, hear the bells, and out she comes from the woodland. as I look down to my right, down the field, I spy the brown hare, and it gets up and starts running. So we are on the top of a hill with 4 fields below us down to a river. So the flight takes through the first field. Brown hare goes under the stock fence. Harris hawk goes over. We get down into the second field. She's gaining on it. She's nearly setting her feet. She's getting there. Brown hare goes under the fence. She goes over the top. And as we get into the third field, and I go, this could go to the river, and I might end up having to get down there. She sets her feet, ready to make her move, and it all happened really so quickly. But just as she was just ready to make contact with that brown hare, and we've all seen it, brown hare launches itself up into the air, jumps basically over the top of her while doing a backflip, and then proceeds to run back up the hill. All credit to her. She turns round about and tries to make that distance up, coming back up the hill, but we all know there was only going to be one winner in that race, and it wasn't going to be the Harris hawk.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. It's still some of my favorite flights that I've had as a falconer as well have been with jackrabbits, which is our equivalent to your hares, obviously, but yeah, no, that's awesome, man. Well, I mean, like I said, I know you either love Harrises or you don't. Same thing kind of with Goshawks. You usually love them or you don't. I mean, it's the way it is with a lot of species. But no, it's cool. It's cool seeing another falconer from over here that appreciates what a Harris hawk can do. Even though...
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I think I am quite lucky in such a way that I do have such a versatility of birds to pick and choose from for what I want to do. But as I've always said, if you get one bird, you put the time and the effort into it, and it'll just get better and better and better. And we're kind of in the thing where here in the UK is somebody will start off with a Harris hawk because they're meant to be, very easily trained and seen it as a beginner's bird. And after flying it a season, not even getting it to its full potential, it's like, oh, I want another challenge. I'm going to get a goshawk next, and that's when things go a little bit wrong. But I like when I've got a bird, I've basically got it for life. It's there and it's there to work and it's doing its job, and these birds just keep getting better and better every year, and you're learning from them, they're learning from you, so it all ties in very, very, very well. And I do honestly, we're going out, a lot of my friends all fly Harris hawks, and it's one bird that it kind of, I would have said it unifies all us, because it's one thing you can go out with your friends, you can all fly in a cast, whereas sometimes when you're flying different species, it's a very, very solo event. You're out on your own, depending if you're at a meet and you're slipping separately, but definitely it brings all us together, and it's absolutely fantastic. They're just, I would have said, one of the best birds you can have in falconry, definitely.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's cool too whenever you have birds that can fly in a cast too, because it also saves time, especially if you got a bunch of other birds to fly too. But no, that's great, man. Well, I mean, before we finish up, I mean, I've been asking this recently. I mean, is there any particular bit of knowledge, pearl of wisdom, or anything that you'd like to pass on? I mean, you've been doing this for a while too, and
When I would have said that this would be probably more aimed at the UK audience than anything, just because that's what I'm used to. But there are falconry is kind of perceived in certain places as, depending on people and the people that are doing it, it's not perceived very well or looked at very well. But what we want to do is try and encourage more people to come into the sport, but also help them out in such a way, and to try and teach them to do it the right way. So I'm always for, if somebody wants to get into falconry, is to seek out somebody that's already doing it. Find a mentor, they'll teach you, and learn how to do things first before you get the bird. In the UK, some people seem to do is they get the bird first and then want to learn second, and it doesn't work, definitely. So anybody wants to get into this sport at all is knowledge. Read as much as you can. Find a local falconry club that can help you out. They'll point you in the right direction. Definitely what I would say is a club that's leading by example is the Wessex region of the British Falconers Club, who have recently started to sponsor people and actually get them their first Harris Hawks, mentor them and teach them and be there as full-on knowledge for them the whole entire way. I don't know if it's something that a falconry club or that does in the US, but definitely that club in the UK is definitely going above board to ensure any members are basically taking the right steps and doing things right, and making sure that they're getting the right bird that's sourced from a great breeder, and everything's being done above board and very, very well, and helping out, and basically that bird's picked out for them. They're very happy with it. They come and have a look at it before they actually pick it up. They see it in the breeding chamber, know where it's coming from, and what I would like is for more clubs to actually follow suit and kind of do that and help out people. It's something that I think we really, really, really need to do.
Yeah, no, and there's a lot of clubs, or a lot of state organizations in the U.S. that do similar types of things. Oftentimes they'll appoint like an officer or something that is kind of like an apprentice liaison type of thing. And yeah, I mean, and that's pretty much what they try and do is, that if anybody contacts the club to try and learn more about falconry, then they basically say, sure, you can, where are you from? If you're in this region, you can try and contact this person, try and link that up, try and let them know about picnics or, meets or whatever that might be happening. And yeah, kind of facilitate the start of what's hopefully a good relationship and a good learning experience, because, it's a lot easier for people to find out that this might not be for them, but in a nice way.
Yeah, that is it.
And, and if you're a bunch of jerks to people wanting to come into the sport, then that's not going to help the cause either.
Definitely not.
And, people can find out well enough on their own if they're not really suited to it, most of the time. So, but yeah, I mean, it sounds like that there's certain clubs that are on the right track with that here.
Definitely.
And that's good to know. But, well, awesome, man. Was there any other little, bits of wisdom, or is there anything else you want to discuss before we call this good?
No, not really. I think I've said what I want to say. I just want to say thanks for having me on. As you know, I'm a long-time listener of the podcast, and it's been a pleasure to be on it. Yeah, no, thanks for taking the time and hanging out and having some beers this weekend. Yeah, it's been good. It's been a lot of fun. Well, go ahead real quick for anybody that might be swinging through Scotland on a vacation or through their travels or whatever. Where can they find information about your business? You'll find information about Loch Lomond Bird of Prey Centre. We have an Instagram page, website, and a Facebook page. Everything's up there of what we do, what we try to achieve, and what our flying demonstration times are and stuff. So you'll find us on any social media whatsoever. We're on it. Yeah. So it's just a case of Googling Loch Lomond Bird of Prey Centre, and everything you need to know will come up. Yeah, and as far as if they want to, look you up, as far as your handle on Instagram, it's the Scottish Falconer, right? Yeah, I am at the Scottish Falconer on Instagram. That's where I do post most stuff. Either sit out in the centre flying birds and getting birds ready for demonstration, or out in the field hunting birds and doing stuff. That's where most people can get a hold of me, and it's where I'm more active. I do have a Facebook page, but mostly everything's kind of coming from Instagram onto the Facebook page, so that's where most people will find me, on Instagram. Perfect. Well, hopefully they've got this barbecue close to being ready that you've been obsessing about for the past 5 hours, and we can have another beer and then hang out some more. So, pleasure. All right, man. Thank you.